So we've taken behind the headlines on the road this week. We're at San Mateo High School with Assistant Principal Adam Gelb, who oversaw last spring a pilot and then full implementation across campus this fall of a phone-free policy, making San Mateo High School the largest public high school in the country to ban phones from bell to bell. So thank you for being here.
No problem.
So I'm curious if you could just start by telling us what was the impetus for San Mateo High School to sort of look more closely at student cell phone use and consider prohibiting use during the school day?
Sure. I think it originally came from teachers. The teachers were concerned that they were spending too many instructional minutes policing the cell phones, whether it be a student just checking the time, sending a text on direct message on one of the apps, the social media apps, or possibly using it during a quiz, assessment, final exam, AP test. And so our leadership team, which is our administration plus our department chairs, came up with an idea that we got from San Lorenzo High School to put the phones in pouches during the school day. We started with a pilot last spring where certain teachers tried it in their individual classrooms, and then we grew that with the input from all stakeholders and taking their ideas to the implementation this fall.
And before we started, we were just talking about how when you were doing the pilot and it was just in limited classrooms, but not during breaks and lunch, that it seemed like the full effect really wasn't taking place.
Yes, we got some input from administrators at San Lorenzo and some other counselors and people in the district to talk about what kind of impact or influence we wanted to have on students and the addiction towards their screens. And we thought the classroom was not enough. We needed to implement it from bell to bell to also impact the students during their free time. So if we took those addictions away from their screens during their downtimes, they would hopefully be more likely to engage in their teachers, their peers that are physically on campus, and so they can have those conversations face to face.
And what is sort of the overarching goal of prohibiting phones? It's not just to be punitive, is
No,
it?
definitely not. I think there's many goals, there's many objectives. I think we're going to be looking at some of the students' grade data, and so how well are they doing academically, referral data, so behavior-wise, are they acting out less or more, given that they don't have these screens? And then we're also looking with our wellness counseling department in terms of the overall mental health of our students. And so we used to deal with, and as I'm sure many high schools do, and some middle schools, cyberbullying was becoming pretty popular, and we saw an increase in the amount of suspensions due to cyberbullying and irresponsible use of cell phones during the school day.
Interesting. And when this was first proposed and when you were undergoing the pilot and then considering the campus-wide rollout, what were initial concerns from students and then also parents?
Sure. We had a number of stakeholder meetings, so we would host meetings where anybody could come. We had 5 or 6 for parents, 5 or 6 for students, 5 or 6 for staff, and then we would gather that feedback and share it with all stakeholders. So obviously the students were concerned. They felt like the phone was a necessity to do well academically. We are fortunate enough to almost be a one-to-one device school where we have Chromebooks. There's a Chromebook cart right behind us for every student, almost in every classroom during any period of the day. And so if they needed to work on something like a Google Doc or a presentation or research their grades, they could do so with the Chromebook. That was their main concern. I think parents, their concern was school safety and how we communicate with their children. And so we've done, kind of making sure our safety plans are up to date. Our mass communication dialers go out in multiple languages automatically, and so we've been practicing those communications during our drills with all of our community members who need to be informed of any safety drills or real emergencies. And then staff, for the most part, were really concerned about how much time will this take away from instructional minutes. And from what we've seen on surveys, this is actually saving a whole lot of time and getting classroom minutes back because they don't have to engage in cell phones other than making sure they're in the pouch at the beginning of the day and unlocking the pouch at the end of the day.
Were there any teachers who were using phones as an educational tool in their classroom that were worried about losing that? Because there are some teachers I spoke to in Palo Alto and researchers who really see the phone as a valuable source of information and a research tool and all that, which I guess you said you can use a laptop for it, but just a mobile device is easier in some ways.
Yeah, I think, they take these formative assessments to gauge, to check for understanding for your students. And if they're taking a Kahoot quiz, a lot of students would get out their phone. One, having Chromebooks gets rid of the equity issue. Some of our students don't have smartphones. And so what do you do for the student who you want to test for their understanding, but they don't have a smartphone to be able to take the quiz, so they're going to get a Chromebook anyway. So why not just get everybody on the Chromebook to do the quiz you need?
Yeah.
So I haven't heard that too often, that the teachers need it as an instructional device, but more so that the Chromebooks are utilized now for more things that are in the classroom.
So after prohibiting phones during school hours across campus this fall, what do classrooms look like? What are you seeing sort of during break and lunch?
Sure. I've been in almost all the classrooms, and our administration does yonder kind of cell phone sweeps for students that aren't following the rules. For the most part, if they forget to put their phone in the pouch, we're definitely not seeing out in the open because they stick out really bad with their teachers and their peers. So I haven't seen a cell phone out in all the classrooms I've been to in the first 6 weeks of school. When I walk down the hallways, you can noticeably see all the eyes and heads are up looking towards the teacher, which is, I think, different than any other school in our district and in the area, because there is that distraction of checking the screen for anything that could come onto the phone in terms of a notification. It could be a text, it could be a daily reminder, it could be anything. And so without those distractions being present in the classroom, now we see more students engaged and focused on whatever the teacher is trying to do with their students.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Some people I spoke to in Palo Alto felt like the more important thing, and actually the responsibility of schools, is to teach responsible phone use rather than just take them away from teenagers, and that this is a really good opportunity to illustrate sort of the impact of technology and have them learn how to work with it, which they're going to have to do the rest of their lives anyway. What's your response to that, and how are you addressing that at San Mateo High School?
Yeah, that is a crucial component in terms of responsible screen time or use. We do see some of our students, even with this implementation, still are logging in about 7 to 8 hours of screen time during school days when they don't have their phone at school. So that means if they're in school for 7 to 8 hours, then they're on their screen outside of school for 7 hours. That only leaves like 5 or 6 hours in the day.
Wow.
So how do we teach students to not only be responsible, but be responsible with the time they spend on the screens? We did have some consultants come onto our campus the first week of school to talk about the why of this and how to use our phones responsibly. We're going to continue to have people come onto our campus and talk to different grade levels about what it means to be responsible when they do use their phone. We haven't seen any cyberbullying during the school day because it's really not possible. But I'm guessing it still does happen outside the school day. Yeah. And how do we help those students learn? Those happen in sometimes our wellness form small groups and support groups. Sometimes these are one-on-one conversations at individualized meetings, whether it's an IEP, an SST, or a 504 about the phone use for students who are having kind of trouble with the transition to not having their screen during the day.
Yeah. Could you just show us how the pouches work?
Sure.
Because it's kind of, if you haven't seen it, it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Sure. So my phone's right here.
Yeah.
And we do have some staff that are participating as well, so they keep them in their pouches as well. So this is the magnetic base. And this part is just the base. And this part is the actual magnet. This is what the pouch looks like. So all students got their pouches at registration. And we actually, for the first time at registration, they had to put their phones in the pouch, and that was the first experience they had. If they were part of the pilot last year, they knew how well this worked. But for some of our new students, it was difficult for them to get used to unlocking and locking. So the magnet for the pouch is right here. And what you would do is you would tap it on the magnet that is attached to the base. It opens like that. Students are expected during the morning to slide the phone in their pouch, and then it locks and closes just like that. we don't take the pouch, we don't take
Right.
the phone. I know a lot of classes in different campuses say, why can't we just put the backpacks in the side of the room and keep the phones there? I think teachers don't want to have anything to do with lost phones or stolen phones. So this stays with students all day. Throughout the day, it is in the pouch. Some teachers like to see it right on the desk. Some teachers don't care if it's in your backpack, as long as it's in the actual pouch. Every classroom and office has this. So if you have students showing up late, it's their responsibility to stop by the office, make sure it's in the pouch. Teachers' expectation is that it's in the pouch when they come in, if they're coming in late.
Okay.
That way it doesn't interrupt instruction.
Got it.
At the end of the day, they tap it, it opens like that. They have their phone. Then they lock the pouch, put it in their backpack or pocket, and the next morning the process repeats.
Yeah. And you do have a procedure in case of emergencies if
Yeah.
a student really needs to use their phone.
Yeah, we have, there's different colored laminated cards that we've distributed based on concerns from parents. So we sent out the informational letter over the summer. Parents would initial if their son or daughter or student had a medical concern or a condition that they need access. So let's say we have a diabetic student who needs to monitor their blood sugar and blood levels. They have a laminated card that allows them to go to any office and unlock their phone without any questions being asked. If students have a yellow card, that means they've met with me, I've met with their families, we've talked about what we can do in terms of school safety and access, and we have about 25 students with those yellow cards, and we over-communicate with those families and our safety team to make sure we know where those students are at all times of the day, just in case they do need access to their phone.
Have there been any unforeseen issues or challenges with the campus-wide rollout?
I think a school this size is challenging. 1,800 students, and making sure all students have their phones in pouches. And so pretty much my office and some of the other administrators and office staff are spending a little bit of time in the morning making sure we're supporting the students that either forgot the pouch, forgot the phone, forgot both, have a dummy phone or a fake phone in the pouch. And so we do spend a little bit more time in the morning, but I think the teachers are reaping those benefits by getting those instructional minutes back by not having those distractions in the classroom. I'd rather deal with those distractions in my office and have those students set for the rest of the day with distraction-free classes.
And you've become sort of an unofficial spokesperson for this issue. You said you've done something like 40 interviews and you're fielding lots of inquiries from interested schools across the country. Why do you feel strongly about sort of advocating for this?
I think you have to see it to believe it. I was 50-50 at best when I went to San Lorenzo. I knew it would be a lot of extra work. But in talking to students that participated, we had a group of 25 students volunteer to do this bell to bell last year, and they signed up to do it. And what they told us at the end of the 6 weeks was they just felt healthier. They felt like they didn't need to be involved in all the drama that was happening via social media. They felt like they could focus better in classes. They felt like they were more social. They felt like they knew their teachers better after the 6 weeks of not being attached to their phone. And they presented at our staff meeting. I think having them present kind of swayed some of our staff that were on the fence just like I was. And now you walk around our campus at brunch and lunch, and we're known for our school spirit in the district. And now, I used to be able to open my office door or window for fresh air, and now I can't do that because the campus is so loud and vibrant during these downtimes of brunch and lunch, where students are actually having conversations, sitting in circles, engaging with one another. And those are skills that some adults don't even have.
Yeah.
And so you can think about a freshman who is coming onto a campus that now we've taken the screen away or the addiction to the screen, and they're kind of forced to make friends and be social with their peers. And had we not done this, maybe they wouldn't have met a group of friends or been involved in certain clubs at lunch or gone to office hours to see their teacher. And so I'm a believer now, 6 weeks into it. It is a lot of extra work, being that we have almost 2,000 students. But I can't imagine a school not having this in terms of the benefits for students and staff.
Yeah. Well, it's a really interesting case study, and I know a lot of teachers and parents in Palo Alto are watching to see sort of how it goes here. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
That's all for this week. Thanks so much for watching. As always, you can find us on social media. And if you want to join the conversation about cell phone-free campuses, you can comment on the story on Town Square on our website. Thanks so much.